Tonight, a party trick goes horribly wrong. A helicopter spirals, crashing into power lines, then onto a highway. Those inside crawl to safety. They're not done yet. Medibank hackers release another batch of documents, the largest leak so far. A teenager stabbed in broad daylight at Castle Hill. The third attack in just under 24 hours. We're live to the scene. The cost of living hits home. Families pulling children out of weekend sport. The price to pay now simply too high. Donald Trump returns to Twitter, the poll that convinced Elon Musk to lift the ban. And world champions yet again, the Kangaroos add to their astonishing legacy. But Samoa parties the hardest.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. It's hard to crash your own birthday party, but that's exactly what happened to a woman and her husband on the Central Coast when their helicopter hit power lines last night. Incredibly, everyone survived, but the traumatic scenes unfolded in front of the couple's family and friends.
Flying low over homes at Foresters Beach, they'd hoped to arrive to a 40th in style, but those plans and their helicopter were quickly sent into a spin.
Get down, Jed, get down!
The Robinson R44 coming down hard on the Central Coast Highway.
Gosh.
Sending people running and sparks flying as it brought down power lines.
As soon as I saw the wind take the tail of the chopper, I knew it was going down.
It happened outside a packed hotel and function centre at 6 o'clock last night. The chaos afterwards filmed on phones.
Is anyone injured?
Incredibly, all three on board crawled out.
Guy flung the door open and tried to get his, wife out.
The pilot and his passengers, a husband and wife, were treated for relatively minor injuries. It was her birthday party they were flying into. She was put on another helicopter and flown to hospital after losing consciousness.
For them to walk away with the injuries that they had, it's a small miracle. Those types of jobs, there's always the fear of explosions.
The chopper had been trying to land in a small hotel car park surrounded by significant obstacles. Trees, power lines, buildings, a main road and people.
Had one attempt at it, flew off, came back.
Investigators from the Australian Transport Safety Bureau will spend the next couple of days gathering evidence from this crash site. They'll be looking for any possible mechanical defects, but also, given these strong winds, whether it was even appropriate for this aircraft to try to land here in the first place.
Can you land there? I don't know. Doesn't look like it, no.
Andrew Denny, 7 News.
After laying low for a few days, the Russian cyber criminals behind the Medibank hack have released a fifth batch of deeply personal medical details onto the dark web. Annie Puller is live with the latest. Annie, this is the biggest dump of customer data we've seen from the hackers.
The drip feed continues, Mark. It appears hackers have re-emerged, releasing the details of up to 1,500 customers on the dark web. 7 News understands the records contain highly sensitive health information, including people suffering from cancer, chronic illness, mental health conditions and even dementia, exposed across 4 separate files. The material is right now being thoroughly analysed to see if it's actually accurate. I can tell you Medibank has reviewed at least one of those files called STD, which does not in fact contain STD codes. Treasurer Jim Chalmers is the latest to voice his disgust.
These people are complete grubs, pure and simple. It is despicable that people are prepared to release the sorts of information that we've seen released in recent days. It is well beyond the pale.
This is yet another ploy by the hackers to pressure the company into paying that $15 million ransom fee. As it stands, around 2,500 Australians are believed to be impacted by the stolen data leaks. The Australian Federal Police are investigating as we wait to see if and when more records are released. Mark?
OK, Annie, thank you. A teenager is in hospital tonight, the victim of a third stabbing attack on our streets in just 24 hours. Robert Ovadia is at the scene in Castle Hill this evening. Rob, what happened?
Hi Mark. Well, police were called here at 2:30 this afternoon. You can see the crime scene remains behind me. There was a 15-year-old boy who had been stabbed. Presumably police were called by either the 15-year-old victim or his friend who took off. There is a black SUV involved in this. Those people took off, and they're the people that police are currently looking for. The boy was taken to Westmead Hospital, where he remains tonight in a stable condition. Now, what is shocking about this is obviously the age, but at least the result is okay. He's in a stable condition. At Campbelltown, however, a much more tragic result where a 25-year-old was presented to Campbelltown Hospital with a knife wound to his chest. He was dropped off by associates there. They tried to work on him, but they failed to save his life. Unfortunately, he has died. Police are left wondering exactly the circumstance that led to the stabbing, and they don't even have a crime scene at the moment. Now, there was also a third stabbing after a brawl at Penrith 2, where another man was stabbed. A terrible night for our paramedics and emergency services. Mark?
Yeah, a shocking 24 hours, Rob. Thank you. Following a 9-day tour through Southeast Asia, Anthony Albanese is now back in Canberra. The Prime Minister turning his focus to domestic matters and the final sitting fortnight of the year as Labor races to pass some of its most controversial legislation in time for Christmas.
3 countries, 3 international summits, resetting and reaffirming relations with global heavy hitters.
I'm much more optimistic about the world than I was perhaps 10 days ago.
Now back in Australia, Anthony Albanese will need all the optimism he can muster as Parliament returns for the last sitting fortnight of the year. Labor hoping to celebrate 6 months in office tomorrow by tying up several legislative loose ends.
It's been 6 months packed full of progress, but there is even more progress within reach.
Looking to pass laws to make childcare cheaper and to establish the National Anti-Corruption Commission. Its biggest challenge, though, getting its contentious industrial relations bill through the Senate.
The Prime Minister should halt these extreme industrial relations reforms.
Arguing they'll hurt small businesses and give unions more power.
Create an environment for more strike action, for lower productivity and for job losses.
Labor wants the laws passed before Christmas, but it'll need support from the crossbench and is prepared to extend the parliamentary calendar to give senators more time to consider the bill.
This is the Senate's big chance to get wages moving again and to fix a broken bargaining system.
The opposition will use the last few days of Parliament this year to ramp up its attacks over the rising cost of living, pressuring the government to reveal what it plans to do to stop runaway electricity and gas prices.
Applying new taxes and export controls and all of these measures will only lead to higher prices for consumers.
Labor's preference is regulatory intervention, promising an announcement within weeks. Rob Scott, 7 News.
Many Australian families struggling to keep up with the cost of living are being forced to make drastic decisions, many now pulling their children out of weekend sport. But parents are being urged to take full advantage of government vouchers to help youngsters stay healthy and active.
For these young bowlers and batters, they know how to show the power of the pitch.
Activity, health, fitness, friendships on the sidelines as well for mums and dads.
But for mum Sonia Faulkner, it's the match putting her to the test when it comes to costs.
It does add up and it can be quite expensive. I'm a parent of 4 kids that all play sports.
Financial boundaries holding 2 in 5 parents back from enrolling their children into sport, according to new research. 1 in 2 making sacrifices so their kids can participate.
Choosing to cut back and make packed lunches, for example, for themselves at work so that they could continue their children in sport. Families are choosing to curb other leisure activities, maybe cut a trip to the cinema in favour of sport.
So I'm not too surprised to see why households are cutting back on some of the more discretionary type of spending.
But they're the funds that have helped many kick goals.
It developed my social skills, self-confidence and so many other valuable things.
Participating in sport costs parents on average around $970 a year, and with travel and equipment fees also hitting family budgets, government vouchers can be one way to avoid the sidelines.
The great news is that almost every state in Australia, if not every state in Australia, has some form of voucher scheme to support children participating in sport.
A run for your money, well worth it.
I think it's a nice balance between what you get to what you give.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
Australia's Kangaroos are World Cup champions for the 12th time after the tournament that's reignited international rugby league. Reporter Michelle Bishop is in Manchester for us. Michelle, they're now in rare company in world sport.
Good morning, Mark. Look, they have had a very, very long night. This has been a very special occasion for these Kangaroos. Very few of these, the team comes with the expectations that come with the Kangaroos. It's either win or failure, and look, they've achieved so much.
Thank you.
They dealt with themselves with class and humility throughout the entire World Cup and finished the job with a dominant 30-10 victory over Samoa. Their captain, James Tedesco, was man of the match and says this is the biggest achievement, the proudest achievement of his life.
I was burning, I think, for a lot of guys to come over this World Cup and represent well, and yeah, we did that.
For the players, I feel this is their moment.
Now, officials are expected to get together in coming weeks to the previous Kangaroo tour of the UK that was scheduled. That will definitely be put back on the calendar. It looks like the international scene, well, it's back in lights. And the Aussies, well, we're all very, very proud. Virgo.
We sure are, Michelle. Well done. Thank you. Australia might be world champions, but there's no doubt who the World Cup's biggest winners were. From the streets of Sydney to their island home, Samoans gathered en masse with celebrations raging through the night and well into the day, despite the result.
Roughly 200,000 Samoans live in Samoa. The rest are probably here.
Super proud. Super duper proud.
And here. And here.
Historical day for Samoans all over the world.
Brisbane too. In Western and southwestern Sydney, Samoans celebrated in the early hours, then a parade at Liverpool late today. This loss felt like a great victory.
Still support the boys and 100% proud of it.
Win, lose or draw, you win. I mean,
Yeah. Few are prouder than these Samoan Australians, Fati and Faleto. They watched their son Brian represent his island heritage on rugby league's biggest stage.
The way he represented our country, Samoa, it's something for my parents.
Outside Wayland Reserve, a Warriors celebration at dawn. So, can you imagine how the players felt from both sides? The heavyweights versus the minnows. 80 minutes to crown the world's best. Traditionally, that has been Australia.
it'll finish.
There was consolation for the Islanders, acclaimed in their adopted home and their ancestral home.
Especially in Australia, sport unites us all, and this was a celebration of multiculturalism as much as anything. For these fans, Samoa is in their blood, but Australia is in their heart.
I am so proud. You do not understand. I wanted us to win so bad, I cried.
The greatest game of all just became a little greater. Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
And we'll have more highlights in sport. After nearly 2 years in social media Siberia, Donald Trump has had his Twitter account reinstated. The former US president was kicked off the platform in January last year, accused of inciting the Capitol riots. Now, new Twitter boss Elon Musk has reactivated the account after a poll tallied more than 15 million votes in support. Musk tweeted, "The people have spoken," in response. Trump is yet to tweet, earlier this week saying he would stick to his right-wing platform, Truth Social. There's added pressure on the state government to abolish mobile phones in high school classrooms. Leaked emails have revealed parents' pleas to authorities. It comes as the opposition doubles down on its election promise to impose a blanket ban.
They've been labelled a plague that needs to be cleared from the classroom.
The children are obviously distracted with having the phones on hand in the playground. Rather than talking or playing sport or doing those good things, they're all just busy on there. devices.
Messages from parents appealing to authorities to ban them at school include, "Our children need help. How can a 13-year-old brain resist the sirens of a mobile phone?" Another saying students were exposed to violent pornography, having social skills undeveloped, online bullying. Impacting their kids, he's distracted in class because his friends are all on their phone, going from being extremely excited about being at school to begging to stay home. Others put off enrolling their child at the local high school because every child is on a device. Labor's pledged a complete ban for the election.
Other states are doing it, and I don't want children in this state held behind or suffering a disadvantage as a result.
Mobile phones do not belong in schools.
But while banned in primary schools, currently high schools are left to decide for themselves.
There are certain schools in certain areas that for various reasons kids may need to access their mobile.
Around 2/3 of the state's government high schools already have a complete ban on mobile phones, and those that do report it makes a big difference.
Issues with online bullying have plummeted. Students are focused entirely on the lesson and building those interpersonal relationships rather than being lost in their own devices.
Paul Kadak, 7 News.
The flooding emergency in the state's central west is far from over, with the towns of Uabalong and Condobolin now in the firing line. SES volunteers and locals have spent the weekend preparing, with sandbag levees already in place. Premier Dominic Perrottet also confirmed he'll visit flood-affected communities with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese later this week.
I had a lengthy conversation with him last night, and from tomorrow in Yagara, there will be that operations centre established to provide access to all those government services.
Tonight there are more than 100 flood warnings across the state. And with the latest on the weather, Angie's here. Angie, it has been a blustery day.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. Good evening to you. Warnings for damaging winds cover a vast area of New South Wales. This is the current region of concern, highlighted in yellow. It stretches from the Riverina in the west all the way to the south coast and up north past the metro region. Here are some of the peak gusts around Sydney today. 85 kilometres per hour at Camden, 76 k's on the harbour and at Katoomba, and 72 kilometres at the airport. A vigorous westerly airstream with a number of embedded cold fronts is causing those conditions over the state's south. We've seen an easing of conditions this evening before they strengthen once again tomorrow with a second front. And it has been warm with those dry westerlies. We reached tops of 27 degrees in both the city and our west today. Another blustery day ahead tomorrow, but not quite so summery. Details soon, Mark.
OK, Angie, thank you. A pilot praised for his quick response. Next, how he averted disaster when his plane lost power. A fireball erupts in a major Russian city. What caused the blast? The multi-million-dollar cancer campaign targeting Aussie dads. That's later. The Sydney suburbs set to become the home of extreme sports. And concert goers drenched. Melbourne proves it really has 4 seasons in one day. Welcome back. A pilot is being praised for his cool-headed response when his plane suddenly lost power near Bankstown Airport. The father-to-be crash-landed on top of a car yesterday afternoon. He was shaken but unhurt. He says he was thinking this is the end as the aircraft fell to the ground. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau has commended his actions and is looking into the incident. Cars were bogged and fans drenched when heavy rain fell at Melbourne's A Day on the Green last night. Aussie artists Angus and Julia Stone performed, along with Crowded House, and not even they could conjure up some clear sky. Forced to trudge through mud, many took to social media to ask why the event was not postponed. Record-breaking snowfall has claimed at least 3 lives and left large parts of New York shrouded in white. Mother Nature unleashed, dumping more than 1.5 metres within hours, triggering hundreds of rescues.
In upstate New York, residents went to bed in a blizzard. The skies opened up and delivered an autumn storm for the record books. Chest-high snowfall, more than 1.5 metres in just 24 hours, blanketing the suburbs of Buffalo.
It's a little deep. Oh my God.
With whiteout conditions, drivers were ordered off the roads.
This is a snow storm with potentially deadly consequences.
A warning too late for some. At least 2 people died of heart attacks shoveling snow. Another killed when his snow ploughing vehicle overturned.
I'm so sad by this.
300 people needed to be rescued.
This car stuck here. This is a nurse that was trying to get off work, just trying to get to the hotel here in Hamburg. Absolutely crippling core of the snowman. Whiteout conditions out here.
1 week out from Thanksgiving, the Buffalo Bills were forced to move a home game, their stadium buried. In neighbouring Indiana,
this snowstorm is mayhem.
Look at the shots. You can't even see anything.
Mother Nature proved their toughest opponent.
I've been around a long time. That's as much as I've seen.
Hardened New Yorkers hunkering down for a white weekend. In the United States, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
An explosion has rocked the Russian city of St Petersburg, sparking a fire which could be seen from kilometres away. It's believed the blast was caused by an erupting gas pipeline. Incredibly, no one was hurt. Only hours earlier, a gas explosion at a block of flats in the country's far east killed at least 9 people, 4 of them children. Kim Jong-un has shown off his daughter for the first time. The North Korean leader can be seen walking hand in hand with her during a heavily produced video which documents the launch of his latest intercontinental ballistic missile. She's believed to be the eldest of his 3 children. Fare free travel across Sydney's rail network. Up next, when you'll be able to leave your Opal card at home this week. Police sweep the streets, the latest crackdown on alcohol-fuelled violence. Adele breaks down on stage, the pop queen's emotional comeback show.
And ahead in sport, Mitch Starc rips through England to help seal the series in Sydney.
Welcome back. There are just hours to go before Opal card readers are switched off at train stations across the city. Commuters will ride for free on Sydney Trains, New South Wales Trainlink and Sydney Metro networks for the next 5 days, starting from midnight tonight. Premier Dominic Perrottet announced the move to head off industrial action, which would have crippled the network. It'll cost the government around $8 million in lost ticket revenue. Sydney police are cracking down on alcohol-fuelled trouble and invited 7 News inside their new operation. Many young people have shaken off the pandemic shackles, returning to pubs and clubs across the city, but they're being urged not to go too far.
On the front line with police, this is Operation ARC.
Which basically means alcohol gets taken or it gets tipped.
Am I able to scull it and then get rid of it? Patrolling party precincts across Sydney, targeting post-pandemic booze hounds.
They're a bit upset. What's going on?
I think I'm having a reaction to the vodka that I've had.
They've forgotten to behave, how they behave in licensed premises. They're drinking too much. They're preloading. Hundreds
ordered to head home after one too many drinks.
If you don't leave, you will be arrested. You will be given a $550 fine on the spot. The offence is to remain here. So if you don't leave, you will be arrested.
During the 2-week operation, 475 partygoers were slapped with infringement notices, minor incidents resulting in 150 charges.
Love, I'm leaving. I'm getting a taxi.
You're not leaving because you're standing here arguing. Taxi. Officers from the Central Metropolitan Region not just targeting patrons, but licensed premises too.
I'm Damon Jones with the Central Met Region, so we're just doing an audit.
Of the 4,000 businesses inspected, around 400 offences were dished out for licensing breaches. Heading into summer, patrons can expect to see more police at more venues right around Sydney. The aim isn't to catch people out, but prevent antisocial behaviour that could turn violent.
You're talking about stuff like drink driving, major assaults, serious assaults.
While it's not exactly a crime to be drunk in public, police want this to be a warning ahead of the silly season.
Depending on what the actual seriousness of the offence is, they may face a fine or they may go to jail.
Annie Puller, 7 News.
Firefighters leapt into action when a garage caught fire in Sydney's west yesterday afternoon. The flames destroyed motorbikes and go-karts, fuelled by a stockpile of petrol. The blaze quickly spread to a nearby home. Crews spent 40 minutes battling the fire. Residents had to evacuate, but thankfully no one was injured. One of the most controversial sporting events in recent history kicks off in just a few hours, but in the lead up to football isn't the main focus of the Football World Cup in Qatar. Addressing criticism levelled at the tournament, FIFA boss Gianni Infantino went on an hour-long rant claiming he understood discrimination because he had red hair as a child. The bizarre appearance in front of the world's media, a strange curtain raiser to the sports showpiece.
Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African.
An odd opening to what would normally be a standard pre-tournament press conference, and it only got weirder from there.
Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled.
You didn't say that you feel like a woman. Now,
I forgot. I feel like a woman.
The 52-year-old Swiss national trying to show he understands the potential discrimination facing certain fans in religiously conservative Qatar.
I was bullied because I had red hair and I had these red, how do you call them?
Freckles.
Freckles.
It really felt like this was an attempt to brush very legitimate human rights concerns under the carpet.
Those concerns, the same ones pointed out by Socceroos players in a public awareness campaign released last month.
But in Qatar, people are not free to love the person that they choose.
Homosexuality is a crime in Qatar, while thousands of migrant workers have died building World Cup infrastructure, making for some prickly questions for players on media duties.
We as players have absolutely no say in where we play.
Doha is ready, Qatar is ready. It will be the best World Cup ever, of course.
Plenty of fireworks before the real show begins. Evan Batten, 7 News.
Extreme sport enthusiasts are in for a treat with one of the world's biggest action parks set to open in Sydney. The indoor facility will house ramps, jumps, even a foam pit, focusing on more than just fun with future Olympians in their sights.
They're one of the global leaders in extreme sports. Now they have a home in suburban Sydney. The Woodward Action Sports Park set to get gnarly in Castle Hill.
It's a big moment. It's been a long time in the making.
The American company has a number of sites in the US. This, their first expansion overseas.
If you're into action sports or any kind of physical activity, we've got something here for you.
Skateboarding, BMX, snowboard to name a few, with state-of-the-art facilities for those starting out, to Olympians and those on their way.
Put down this, there's a... Yes!
Chloe Cavell has her sights firmly set on the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, thrilled that Woodward has finally hit Aussie shores.
I was so stoked. I used to watch it when I was a little kid on YouTube.
The two purpose-built facilities will span more than 3,500 metres in a move that looks to cement the West as the home of sport in Sydney.
This will be the first of its kind in this country, and we're thrilled to have it out in Castle Hill.
The government tipping in close to $2 million to make this half-pipe dream a reality. This project has been 7 years in the making and is set to be one of the most innovative designs ever constructed by Woodward. Just when it will be open and the action sports will begin, well, it's hoped by late 2024.
I'm just excited to try out all the different skate parks, hang out with friends and do different other activities.
Liam Tapper, 7 News.
Adele has finally opened her Las Vegas residency 10 months after postponing the show at the last minute. The singer received a standing ovation from the 4,000-strong crowd as she broke down on stage.
It's really great to be from Tottenham and be in Las Vegas.
Adele finished the show by disappearing in a shower of confetti. A rock star whose death sent shockwaves through the music industry and around the world. Next, remembering Michael Hutchence 25 years on. Love saved his life, a baby gorilla's incredible survival story.
Soon in sport, Australia celebrates a World Cup double, so why does Big Mau want more?
And warnings for gale force winds in Sydney tomorrow morning. Details soon.
Welcome back. Prince of Wales Hospital in Sydney's East has received a multi-million-dollar facelift. Construction of the $782 million acute services building is now complete. It will see first-class facilities such as digital operating theatres, an expanded ICU and emergency department. It's the first major upgrade to the hospital in 25 years. If you ever needed proof that a hug can save a life, look no further than Kaies the gorilla. The little guy's health started failing when his mother rejected him. Enter his human mum, Mogo Wildlife Park keeper Chad Staples. Sleeping on Chad's chest every night, Kayes has slowly recovered, gaining weight and confidence. He's spending time with his real family every day, and there's hope he'll soon be able to rejoin them. It was news that shocked fans around the world, and for many still remains a mystery. This week marks 25 years since rock star Michael Hutchence was found dead in a Double Bay hotel, and the impact is still being felt.
November 1997. What happened in this room at the Sydney Ritz-Carlton would rock the world of rock.
He is a major Australian music identity, and news of his passing will become international headlines.
Michael Hutchence, from holding crowds in his hands to the glamorous in his arms, found dead and alone by a hotel maid.
And as she pushed the door, it wouldn't open, and she pushed it a bit harder and then heard a noise, and it was his body falling from the belt that had broken on the door closer.
The hit-writing frontman for INXS had taken the band to international glory. With supermodel Helena Christensen, they were dubbed the hottest couple on the planet. Then he met Kylie.
I think people are going to be a bit shocked.
I was 21 years old and we collided at that time.
But it was his love affair with Paula Yates that would lead to turmoil and a spiral ending in the coroner's court.
It has been suggested that the death resulted from an act of autoeroticism. However, there is no forensic or other evidence to substantiate this suggestion.
We could live for 1,000 years.
His funeral was packed with celebrities, fans and exes.
Ashes to ashes.
The remains scattered on Sydney Harbour. But even now, his memory very much alive.
Michael visited me in a dream as an owl in a field, and he said that he's fine and that, you know, he's free and not to worry sort of thing. And I woke up and just, you know, kind of bawled my eyes out.
25 years on, a headline that remains unanswered. Patrick Burns, 7 News.
The skin cancer warning, not for women but men, still to come. A multi-million-dollar campaign to get Aussie dads making better decisions, especially heading into summer. The surprising numbers putting blokes at risk. That story coming up soon on 7 News. But now Matt's here with Sport. Matt, Big Mal wants more for his world champions.
Yeah, that's right, Fergo. The Kangaroos are still celebrating an historic World Cup win, but their coach wants his team to become the best we've seen. There's one thing stopping them. Details next. Plus, he's had a taste of the captaincy. Now Josh Hazlewood wants to share it around. And the missing French superstar that's boosted the Socceroos' chances at the World Cup. Welcome back. Officials must find room for test match football every year. That's Mal Meninga's challenge after his Kangaroos restored league's world order. The Gillaroos and Kangaroos secured an Aussie World Cup double at Old Trafford, ending a tournament that reignited the international game.
They came to the north of England to leave an indelible mark.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. And haven't these Kangaroos done that? Cameron Munster's shorts and Cameron Murray's jersey stay behind as priceless mementos. Few teams in any sport carry the expectation you either win the World Cup or fail.
It's not a burden to us. We carry that, I think, you know, with great humility and respect.
No hard feelings for the only moment of controversy.
Crichton, bang!
I don't even remember it. Here we go.
Samoa's coach says Angus Crichton should have been sent off for the elbow on Chanel Harris-Tavita.
The referee makes a weak decision and puts him in the bin. Dumbfounded.
Seriously.
Whenever I play football, I don't try and injure anyone, I don't try and hurt anyone.
Samoans breathe fire, but a generation denied green and gold by COVID weren't missing this chance.
I'm glad that we did it for our country and especially my people.
Only leaving us wanting more. Grant to Cleary to Munster to Tedesco.
I'm 25 and there's still a long way to go, and I'm just scratching the surface.
The dream came come true here at Old Trafford, and these Kangaroos have got the cup in their hands to prove it. Australia is set to regain #1 spot in the world rankings again.
We should have been all along, and we proved why. And, we're going to keep proving it.
The Gillaroos' 54-4 victory over the Silver Ferns was a showcase of women's league worthy of Old Trafford's Hello Turf. Investment worth every cent.
Can't wait to see what the next 3 years, the next World Cup, what can change between now and then.
Women, men, all nations here leave the same message. International League is the pinnacle again.
I think we've changed the game globally.
Travelling with the Australian Kangaroos in the UK, Michelle Bishop, 7 News.
Josh Hazlewood's convinced multiple white ball captains are the way forward after the rookie skipper led Australia to a one-day series win over England. Chasing the host 280, England fell 72 runs short. Adam Zampa and Mitch Starc, the main destroyers. Australia sealing the series with a game to spare.
Next stop, Melbourne for Tuesday's last game against England. Australia's 28th ODI captain Pat Cummins slides back into the role. Our 29th skipper says workload will make that number climb.
Pat's obviously not going to play every white ball game, so having that core leadership group of a couple that's, I think it's moving in the right direction, and it gives everyone a bit of a taste of it.
With Cummins rested, Hazlewood liked leading, but admits he had a lot of help.
I had a good time of it. It was good fun. It's nice having a few, obviously, senior guys out there, especially Smithy, to bounce a few things off.
Like his predecessor, Hazlewood led by example.
Bowled his first wicket as captain of Australia.
Even more damaging, Mitchell Starc. Stark's man of the match 4-wicket haul, impressing wife Alyssa Healy in commentary and his skipper.
We didn't really see anyone else swing it last night except him, so at the start there it's lethal, and we saw what can happen.
4 wickets also for Adam Zampa in the 72-run win. Hazlewood convinced white ball cricket provides perfect preparation for the first test against the West Indies in 10 days' time.
Well, physically it probably comes in the perfect order. I mean, you're just amping up a little bit each time.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
More milestones for Sydney Sixers captain Elise Perry. With her team already assured of a final berth, Perry's Big Bash tally went beyond 50 wickets against the Hurricanes. She then hit an unbeaten half-century in a match-winning stand with Ash Gardner.
That's hit hard and high and long enough.
Out of finals contention, Sydney Thunder are currently up against the Strikers. Thunder skipper Rachel Haynes retiring after this game. The Socceroos' chances of shocking the world may have slightly increased. France were rocked by the withdrawal of the world's best player, Karim Benzema, just 3 days before their World Cup opener.
Just when things couldn't go worse.
Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled.
France training, a thigh injury to Karim Benzema, then a tweet that hardly needed translation. Bad news. The world's best player is out of the World Cup altogether. One less threat for the Socceroos to deal with on Wednesday morning.
We've got so much faith in ourselves, so much belief that we could go out there and we could do something.
Clearly Scottish-born and raised, Harry Souttar's pledged allegiance in ink, but he doesn't need the tats to stand out from a crowd. Back just in time from an ACL tear, a defender and key scoring weapon. Harry's well drilled in the Aussie way by his mum Heather and coach Arnie.
I think it's pretty simple. I think it's just never given up.
From the fans sleeping in shipping containers to a foot-in-mouth FIFA president to the thousands queuing desperately for $20 beers, that's $82 worth right there. The World Cup can't kick off soon enough with Qatar and Ecuador tonight. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Well, another woeful Wallabies effort, this time against Ireland. Having been warned, this neck roll had Folau Fainga Sinbind, Ireland's Bundy Aki, barging over, delighting the home crowd before Australia levelled at 10-all.
Petaia straightening, Geordie Petaia!
A late penalty goal iced it for Ireland, 13-10. The Wallabies play Wales next Sunday, having lost 6 of their last 7 tests. There's little doubt in Cam Smith's standing as the most popular man in Aussie sport right now. Today, more than 500 turned up for a lesson with the Open champion in Brisbane. $140 million live defection aside, little's changed for the laid-back Queenslander, including the competitive streak.
I haven't won an Open yet, Australian Open yet, so I'd love to knock that one off. I think for Aussie golfers, professional golfers, it's right at the top of the list.
Smith took his claret jug to his home golf club last night and lost count of how many mates had a sip from it. Apparently it fits exactly 2 cans of beer, and if it could talk, it would tell some stories.
Hopefully no dents or scratches.
Not yet.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, man. Skin cancer is one of the biggest killers in Australia, with 2 in every 3 people diagnosed at least once in their lifetime. With summer just days away, a new multi-million-dollar campaign has been launched, and there's a focus on the nation's dads.
It's a simple message.
Always put this on, mate. Keeps it in good nick.
Reminding Australians to be sun smart this summer.
Hey, Dad!
Same goes for you.
This advertisement, part of a $10 million federal government campaign to drive down the rates of skin cancer.
We know that there are going to be approximately 17,000 melanomas diagnosed this year.
2,000 Australians will die from skin cancer this year alone, men at twice the rate of women. Only 49% of men seek shade when out in the sun, even fewer use sunscreen.
Frankly, men aged 40 to 59 need to do better. We are the least disciplined in good health behaviours to protect ourselves.
65-year-old John Clements is one of the lucky ones. He's had at least a dozen skin cancers removed.
I was pretty blasé about my health, but if I had my time again, I'd certainly look after my skin.
And the campaign won't just be on TV and online.
We'll have an integration with the cricket, because we know that men particularly watch cricket.
A modern take on the memorable Slip, Slop, Slap ad from the 80s.
Slip, slop, slap. But adding the seek and slide is a little bit of a challenge for some people. We need to be thinking about all 5 forms of sun protection.
There's so much more we need to do.
The campaign will be rolled out across the country next month.
This stops the timber getting wrecked by the UV.
Matthew Carstunen, 7 News.
Now Angie's back with the forecast. Ange, how's the working week shaping up?
Well, Mark, plenty more sunshine in the coming days, but the gusty conditions remain tomorrow. All the latest warnings next.
Who do you think is to blame? Every crash at high speed, all involving trucks. The rules drivers don't know. On 7 News, 6 o'clock.
Tonight's 7 News headlines. The moment a helicopter crashed into power lines and then onto a highway has been caught on camera. 3 people on board all crawled to safety. The Medibank hackers have released a new batch of data, nearly 1,500 customers exposed. Donald Trump has been welcomed back to Twitter, his ban lifted by Elon Musk, but the ex-president hasn't tweeted yet. And Samoan fans have partied through the streets of Sydney, even as the Kangaroos were crowned world champions. Now here's Angie with Sydney's weather.
Thank you, Mark. It was hot and very windy across much of the state today, especially the southern half of New South Wales. Winds reached 85 kilometres per hour on Sydney Harbour. Those gusts helped to drive temperatures several degrees above average. We reached 27 in the CBD following a warm night with a low of 18. Not much variation in temperature from east to west today. Manly reached 27 degrees, as did Penrith. Mascot and Cronulla and Gosford were among the warmest, 28 for maximum, while Norah Head recorded 29. Warnings for those damaging winds still cover this belt in yellow from the Riverina across to the south coast and north to the metro region. A vigorous westerly airstream with a number of cold fronts is fueling those gusts exceeding 90 kilometres per hour in parts. This evening, as one cold front clears, conditions will ease, but those winds will ramp up once again tomorrow as another front tracks across the state. So that will be the strongest of the series, resulting in the most intense conditions tomorrow morning. Around the capital's Brisbane, hot and sunny, 35 degrees, cool and grey through the southeast with showers for Canberra, Hobart, Melbourne and into Adelaide. Perth, blue skies, 29. Darwin, 34 with some late showers and storms. Statewide, clear for the far west, very gusty in the south around Mildura. Those winds also bring showers to the southern half of New South Wales again. Even snow on the Alps to around 900 metres. The north, though, fine and mostly sunny. Above average temperatures, 29 degrees forecast for Port Macquarie and 33 for Lismore and Byron Bay. For the metro region, wind gusts could reach 80 kilometres per hour in the morning. Temperatures not quite as warm as today. 25 forecast for Penrith, 24 at Bondi and 23 forecast at Campbelltown. On the water, west to northwesterly winds to reach 30 knots, turning westerly in the late afternoon to 35 knots. So strong wind warnings cover the Port Macquarie and Hunter coastlines, gale warnings from Sydney south. It is looking like another balmy night ahead in the CBD with a low of 16 degrees forecast. Tomorrow's top 25. Again windy, but lots more sunshine. Ahead, the winds ease for Tuesday, tops of 24 degrees across the board. Wednesday, mid to high 20s and sunshine. That warm, settled trend carries on all week. Temperatures building as we approach the weekend. So by Sunday, 31 in the city, 36 in our west, and it'll be days out from summer by then, Mark.
Warm and settled sounds good, Ange.
Looking good.
That is 7 News for this Sunday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening. I'm Mark Ferguson from all the team. I hope you have a great night.